We are well aware that there were a lot more people registered than are going to be able to actually attend today. I just want to let you know that we are going to be recording the session, and we will be uploading it onto YouTube, and we'll share a link with all of those of you that are joining us now and all of the people that perhaps registered but have been unable to attend. Okay, so we are going to take you through our COVID secure measures on our new customer journey for Swim School. We'll be taking you through a presentation, so hopefully your speakers are all working and you can hear us. You don't need to worry about having your webcam or your mic turned on. Hopefully you can see us. Unfortunately, we can't see all of you, but you should be able to see our presentation on the screen. We'll also be doing questions and answers throughout, so you should be able to see, if you're on a laptop, on the bottom of your screen. If you're on a mobile, I think it may well be on the right hand side, that there is a Q&A function in this Zoom webinar platform. So if you want to use that question and answer function to ask your questions in there, hopefully most of them will get picked up with the content as we go along, but we'll make sure that if there's anything in there that we don't cover, we'll cover it in the question section at the end. And if it's something that we're not able to answer directly for you today, then obviously we will take it away and we'll come back to you. So we will get through as many questions as we can. We've got a lot of information to share with you today, and we really hope that you find it useful. So in terms of who you've got with you today, and hopefully you can see us on your screen, my name's Emma Lewis and I'm National Swimming Development Manager for GLL, or Better UK as you will know us in your local leisure centres. And I've got Andrew Taylor, who is our National Aquatics Tutor, who's actually based up in York, and he leads all our teacher training, and Nicola Charnock, who's our Aquatics Hub Manager for North and Northern Ireland, who is in Cumbria, and I'm actually in Essex, so we're spread out all over the place, but looking after our swim school business and hopefully bringing you the information that you need to make you feel comfortable in terms of coming back into the facilities. Some of you may have been back already and may have attended lessons from September when we restarted. Some of you may be thinking about coming back for the first time post-lockdown. So what we're going to take you through today is an overview of all of the COVID secure measures that we've put in place to keep you and your families safe. We're going to go through the new Better Learn to Swim pathway. We'll take you through the benefits of the new model and what we think is beneficial for you and for your children and for our teachers. And then, as I said, we'll cover off a question and answer section at the end. We're running the session from 4 till 5, so we'll be finished by 5 o'clock today. So just by way of a bit of an introduction for you, just to let you know, as a large organisation, we were a real key contributor to the national governing body COVID secure guidance that was published for the industry back last year. We are looking to restart our swimming lessons in line with government guidance. The majority of them will be from Monday, the 12th of April, which is next Monday. There are a few select centres, such as the London Aquatics Centre, that won't be coming back until the 19th of April, but you should have all have received your communications and your emails from us giving you your start date. As you may well be aware, we'd already introduced a new model of our swim school lesson delivery that we introduced in September, and we want to take you through a little bit more information on that today. And many of the changes that we've made with our new model actually really aligned with our COVID secure measures as well, so it's sort of double beneficial. But ultimately, we always aim to make sure that our swimming lessons are safe and progressive, and that all of the pupils that are taking part are having fun.
Over to me. So hi everybody. What we're just going to run through it is our COVID secure measures for our swimming lessons. Worth just knowing, everything we're going to talk about today is relating to our junior lessons, so our foundation, development and academy lessons. We will talk a little bit about our preschool and our swim bees lessons, but the majority of this is about the lessons that we're restarting on the 12th. We are planning to bring those lessons back, and we're going to be looking to do a webinar on our baby, toddler and preschool lesson model next week, and details will come out about that. But we're happy to answer any questions if people have got them about those products. So the first thing to talk to you about is that in order to ensure that we manage the flow of people within our centres, we've ensured that our lessons have got staggered start times. This has all been about ensuring that we've got the changing rooms managed, we've got the reception area managed, as well as poolside. We've also asked that all pupils arrive pool ready. What that means is that we're asking children to come with their trunks or costume on underneath their clothes, and then they're able to quickly sort of get undressed, ready for the lesson to start. Now, we know that might be challenging if they're coming straight from school, so we have asked our centres to make sure that there is provision for children that can quickly get changed if they've not been able to come pool ready. And again, that's specific to each of our pools. We've also introduced a lead swimming teacher who is responsible not only for the COVID secure delivery on poolside, but also to support with the customer service side to ensure you've got a touch point with the class teachers. We've also introduced a member of staff called a queue supervisor, and what they're there to do is help support the journey off poolside so that you know where to go from the reception area, the waiting area, through to the changing rooms and post lesson. And also it's somebody else to ask any questions that you may have about what to do in terms of getting your child ready for lessons, and also any questions you've got about the delivery if you've not got a chance to speak to our teaching team. One of the things we've had to put in place because of the recommended guidance is that all of our swimming teachers have got to deliver from poolside. Now, this is far from ideal and not something that we put into place without considering all the different options. In our sort of pre-COVID lessons, our teachers would get in the water to support the pupils, especially where they're non-swimmers and beginners. Unfortunately, because of social distancing, we've had to ensure that our teachers are on poolside to ensure that we can remain 2 metres from the pupils. As soon as the government guidance is relaxed and regarding social distancing, we're looking to bring our teachers back in the water. But at present, we're having to teach from poolside for all swimming lesson delivery. We've made sure that we've got in place really robust cleaning in terms of the equipment that we're using, and the best sort of cleaning agent for that is our pool water, because chlorinated water has been proven to ensure that any virus particles that are in the water would be killed off, and that guidance from the World Health Organization explain about how COVID can't be transmitted from waterborne in water itself. We've also reviewed our lesson capacities to ensure that they can take place safely and that every pupil have got enough space to be able to social distance whilst in the water. We've also then reviewed the activities that the children will be doing so that things like paired work and games are reduced down so that we're ensuring that we can social distance within the lessons. Final thing just to mention is that we're asking all customers to wear face coverings whilst in the centre and whilst spectating. Again, this is just in line with government guidance. So that's just a bit of an overview of some of our COVID secure measures. In terms of what that looks like when you come into one of our centres, we have got a really handy video which explains all of this, and we'll show you that in a minute. But just to sort of put it into an example, if you've got a lesson that starts at 4 p.m, we ask you to arrive at the centre 10 minutes before your lesson starts. That's to ensure that we can move you from the waiting area to the changing rooms onto poolside, ready for your lesson to start. When you get to the centre 10 minutes before your lesson starts, you'll be greeted by our queue supervisor, and they'll explain to you which class your child's in, check that they're on the register, and answer any questions that you may have. The queue supervisor will then take yourselves and the rest of the group to the drop-off point, which is the point just before poolside, to then be greeted by our teachers. Once the lesson starts, we'll then ask all parents to move to the spectator area. Now, our spectator areas have had to change because of social distancing measures. In some centres, we have tried to prioritise available space on poolside for you to be able to see your children in the water, but this isn't the case everywhere. And unfortunately, there are some centres that we've not been able to accommodate spectators on poolside or in the normal areas. Before the lesson finishes, we would then ask the queue supervisor to ask all parents to go back to the changing room area to get ready to collect their children at the end of the lesson. We're then asking that after the lesson has finished, you've got 10 minutes in the changing room area to get your child out of the building with yourselves. And again, we know that can be quite challenging if you've got 2 children with you and things like that. But we're trying to limit the amount of time out of the water so that we can ensure that we can get as many children through lessons as possible. So just to show you an example of some of our signage, throughout our centre, we've tried to ensure that we're really clear about where our swimming lesson waiting zone is, where we have a drop-off point, as well as things like making sure the pupils know what rules we've got in place to make our lessons both fun and COVID secure. Every centre will look slightly different, and on the next slide, this is just an example of what the one-way journey might look like. Appreciate that on a slide like this, it can look very confusing with lots of arrows and lots of different dots and things like that. But what we're trying to emphasise is that we spent a lot of time ensuring that all of our centres have got really robust procedures in place and really clear one-way systems. So what I'm just going to do is stop sharing my screen for a second and share with you a video that we have produced which explains our COVID secure measures. So it's just a 2-minute clip and hopefully it just reiterates everything I've been talking through.
It's almost time to get the kids back to swimming lessons. We've been working hard to ensure that we are safer, better and stronger than ever so that our swimming lessons can be enjoyable and stress-free. There have been a few changes, so here's everything you'll need to know. Please arrive pool ready with swimwear underneath clothing that can be easily and quickly removed prior to the start of the lesson. We are limiting the number of people in the centre at any one time, so we ask that only one adult comes along to supervise. Please arrive 5 minutes before your lesson starts. At times, you may have to queue, and as always, please adhere to social distancing guidance while you're waiting and moving around the centre. To ensure they're suited, booted and ready to go, we ask that you help fit swimming hats and goggles, and any visits to the toilet happen before the lesson starts. A member of staff will guide you to the drop-off zone, ready for the start of your lesson. For the safety of both yourselves and our swimming teachers, entry will not be permitted after the lesson has started, so please ensure you arrive on time. If you can, please keep hold of your child's belongings. Alternatively, these can be left in the designated poolside bag drop-off zones, where available. When the lesson is ready to start, the kids will be welcomed by their teacher, and you will be accompanied by a member of staff to the spectator area. We have reviewed the lesson setup to ensure they are delivered in a safe environment while maintaining a welcoming and engaging learning atmosphere. The lessons have changed slightly, but we can assure you they're just as fun. In line with industry guidance, swimming teachers have completed COVID secure training and will remain out of the water. We will also be reducing the amount of equipment used. Once the lesson has finished, a member of staff will guide you back to the collection point. Changing rooms will be available, but if possible, please shower at home. Arrive pool ready with your swimwear under your clothes. Leave your bag with a grown-up or in the drop-off point poolside. Ask the adult accompanying you to help you with your swimming hat and goggles, and if you need to, pop to the toilet before the lesson starts.
So hopefully that just helps reiterate some of the measures that we've already talked through, and that video is available on our website if you do want to look back to it. Oops.
Doodly, you drag,
Excuse me a second.
you drop, you tweak some settings, and boom, video done. It'll take you just a few minutes.
Sorry about that. YouTube trying to go onto an advert. So back to our presentation. So in terms of when you do come to the centre, if this is the first time that you are returning with your children for swimming lessons, it'd be worth speaking to our queue supervisors to make sure that you're happy with where you need to be at what time. We know it can be quite confusing that first day coming back for lessons, but we're hopeful that you've got all the information to help you enjoy that first lesson and that you know where you need to be at any point. But our staff are all on hand to answer any questions and support as much as possible during the first couple of weeks. So what we'd like to move on to is just explaining about our new Better Swimming to School model. As well as in September relaunching under a COVID secure arrangement, we also look to introduce our new programme. Now, this was something that we have been developing for a number of years. It's not something that was sort of decided to change overnight. What we were looking to do is put something in place that improves the customer journey for anybody that's signed up to lessons with us as Better. What we want to do is simplify the experience for pupils in the lessons and parents, so that from booking through to a child progressing doesn't mean that a child, every time they achieve a certain award, means that they have to change the time or the day that they're swimming. We wanted to make learning to swim as simple as possible in terms of having a day and a time which potentially you can keep and only have to change 15 minutes between one class to another. That was our objective of trying to change what we were doing. We also wanted to ensure that we have somebody on poolside that's there and available for you to speak to about any issues, somebody that can actually sort of talk through how your child's doing in the lesson, because the way our lessons were running previously, it wasn't always possible to do that because of the way we structured things. We also wanted to improve sort of how we emphasise the importance of water safety. All of you as parents on here, as guardians, I'm sure that you have all booked your children onto lessons because fundamentally you want them to be safe in and around water and then progress to any point that they wish to, whether that's competitive swimming or just participation for life. And what we want to do is have awards and a framework which really highlights to you as a parent at what point they learn key skills such as treading water, learning to do a shout and signal rescue, things that in the event that, God forbid, they do fall into open water, they know what to do. We also wanted to really emphasise the importance of active learning time, in that we're really trying to embed into our teachers that we want them to get as most out of every single minute in a lesson and train them in a way which allows them to do that, and having a model and an approach of teaching that allows us to achieve that. We also wanted to reduce the number of different classes down, to reduce sort of the number of times that they would have to do those changes potentially on a time or day, and also ensure that the way that we're teaching allows for that flexibility of the realities that sometimes a child might progress, but also they might regress at certain points where they might need a bit more time and a bit more focus on particular areas. We are, as a company, the largest operator of pools, and we've used that knowledge and the expertise that we've got within our own team and using industry experts to help us sort of get our new program together and have something we really believe is a radical new exciting approach to teaching swimming. So what is our new model? All I'm going to do is just talk through the different components of it. As I've already said, today's session is all about explaining our core lessons, so foundation, development and academy. But I'm going to run through the bottom bits first so that you're just aware of it if you are looking to book your child onto our baby program. So Swimbees is everything to do with our sort of under 4 offer. So it's everything for our babies, our toddlers and our preschool lessons. So Dippers is for 3 months old to 12 months babies. And the idea is we called it Dippers. It's the first time they're dipping into the water with the parent or with the guardian. Splashes is for 13 months through to 2 years. And that's the point where developmentally the babies and toddlers will start being able to do more movements and be able to take part in sort of more activities that are more aligned to swimming skills rather than holds and things like that. Paddlers is our next class, which is all about when the children are starting to develop their basic paddle actions and basic swimming technique with their parent in the water. So this is from 2 years to 3 years. Finally, we've got a preschool class, which is for our 3 to 4 year olds. Now, in non-COVID times, this is where the first time that your child will be in the water without the parent or guardian, and the teacher would be the only one there. However, because our teachers have got to teach them poolside at the moment, we will be launching from April our preschool lessons with adults in the water. More details on the whole of our Swimbees and preschool program will be on our webinar that we're going to be releasing details on next week. So for the most of you, you're here to understand what is foundation, what's development and what's academy. So the point of us having these classes, so 3 classes, foundation, development, academy, is so that it simplifies that when a child comes into foundation, when they progress through each of the different stepping stones, their sort of developmental stepping stones in swimming, we don't want them to have to move day or time. We don't want them to move between different teachers. We want to work with the same group of teachers for longer so that we get better results and they progress and enjoy the lessons, hopefully, a lot more. So in foundation, this is for 4-year-olds plus, okay? When a child comes in as a non-swimmer beginner, whether they're 4, whether they're 6, whether they're 8, even if they're 10, they would start in our red ability group. So when they're in the red ability group, they've got certain outcomes they're working towards, which we'll go through in more detail in a few slides. Once they've completed all of the awards, they would then progress to amber awards, then to green, and after green, they've completed the whole of the foundation class. The idea is that, again, by being in this one class, working with a group of teachers, that they can be progressing and working on these different awards, but rather than having to change the day or the time 3 times, they stay in that class for the whole of their journey. Our development class is for pupils that completed the green outcomes in the foundation class, or can do the sort of relevant assessments, so basically able to prove they're competent at being in that particular group. In this class, we've got bronze, silver, and a gold ability group. Again, the idea is that a child can progress through these different awards while staying within the same class, working with the same group of teachers. After development, we've then got our academy program, and our academy program is designed to be like a mini club environment for children that may not want to go into a competitive route. So if they don't want to go into sort of competitive swimming or competitive diving, synchro or water polo, but do want to stay involved in swimming lessons, it's an offer for them, sort of for the older children. At the moment, all of this is focused around our life-saving sort of awards, but we're introducing other elements as we restart lessons. The whole of our program, as we always say, it's taken a number of years to develop it to this point, and we have got this endorsed by the International Federation of Swimming Teachers. So this is a group which is not just for the UK, but has got representatives in Australia, Canada, the US, and in Europe. And we've had individuals from those different partners look at our model and sort of give a feedback on that around what we're doing. So comparing this to what we delivered back in March last year, many of you would have had your children in lessons which would have been stages 1 to 10. This diagram just shows where those stages convert into our new model. So you can see on here that if your child was in stage 1 to 3, they would now be in the foundation class. Stage 1 relates to red ability group, stage 2 to amber, stage 3 to green, and so on and so forth. In development, stage 4 to 7 is the equivalent of the old classes. Stage 4 is now bronze, stage 5/6 is silver, and stage 7 would be gold. And then finally, we've got stages 8 to 10, which is our new academy program, where we're working on these different sets of awards. So hopefully that sort of clarifies the difference in what we were doing back in March last year and what your children will return to lessons in April this year. Just a bit more detail for you in terms of the different age groups. As I've already mentioned, foundation is available for any child that is 4-year-old and above. We do have some specific classes if you've got a child that's slightly older but hasn't had the opportunity to learn to swim yet. We've got specific classes for sort of older and teenage non-swimmer beginners, which is a foundation class, which is a bit more appropriate for them. Development, we say, is for anybody that is 6+ and has achieved the relevant awards. And finally, academy, we generally say, is for children that are 8-year-olds plus. But there may be some exceptions to this where a child might progress quicker than we've anticipated. So what are the awards that we're covering in each of the different classes? Well, the first thing to mention is, rather than being focused on awards, what we've tried to get our teachers to hone in on are the skills that we want the children to be able to learn in each of the classes. So at the bottom of the slide, you've got these 6 areas which are our essential swimming skills. These are sort of the building blocks to ensuring that every child that comes to our lessons learn how to be safe and effective in the water. What we want are children that not only can swim the 4 different strokes, but also know what to do if they get into trouble themselves. All of our awards are built around these essential swimming skills. And what we've done is planned in that our scheme of work and what we're delivering to your children links into the award outcomes. So by your child attending and naturally progressing, they will naturally link and achieve the awards that we have for them. The idea also is that we've got more time to celebrate when your child is achieving something. Rather than it being that they only achieve one badge as they did previously, in red, amber and green, there are 6 different opportunities to achieve that reward and recognition, which we'll talk a little bit more in terms of our development with digital certificates a little bit later. In each of these, you can see that we're developing all 4 strokes. A big part of what we're doing is that as teachers, we don't want to just hone in on developing the basic actions on front and back first. We also want to introduce your child to basic breaststroke leg action, just bend, start, snap. Being like a dolphin, it's amazing how many children will naturally be able to do a dolphin leg action so much more effectively than being able to swim on their back or swim on their front in terms of front crawl or backstroke. Our teachers have got plans and working on how they can develop lessons that create swimmers that have got this wide set of skills that can be developed step by step, rather than trying to master particular ones first before we move on to the others. As you can see, we've got distances that we're setting for them to achieve, as well as the water safety awards and challenges that are in the forms of games and activities. So moving on to our development class, these are the awards that we've got in place for bronze, silver and gold. As you can see, we keep to the theme of the different distance awards. They each progress, so you can see that from the foundation class, they were doing 10 meters in the green, now they're doing 15 meters and so on and so forth. We've tried to make this challenging, but also realistic so that every child can progress and achieve these different stepping stones. At the bottom, these are the advanced swimming skills that we focus on once the children have learnt those essential swimming skills in the foundation class. And this is what we're trying to focus it all around. As well as the water safety linked to the survival skills and basic rescue skills, we're also looking at sort of skills that link to competitive swimming, to water polo, to synchronized swimming, as well as diving. So it's a real wide range of skills and activities that we will be delivering to your children. Finally, our academy program is aligned to the STA Lifeguard Academy. And if you can see on the picture, there are so many different awards, and we've really not had the opportunity because of the various lockdowns to really explore and get the academy program to be able to fulfill all of its potential. And that's what we're hoping to do throughout this year. There's so many opportunities if your child's in the academy class that, like I said before, we want to create these mini club environments that your child feels part of something, part of a group where they can work on their own personal challenges. Similar sort of concept to if they were going to sort of brownies or guides or to scouts, that sort of ethos of sort of working on things that sort of lead to life skills, not just to sort of swimming skills. So within all of our model, as I already mentioned, we did a lot of these things because we had you as a customer at the heart of what we were trying to change. A lot of what we've done as well is because of the COVID pandemic, but it's helped us sort of align the two together to use the opportunity to improve things for the future. What we're going to talk about in a little bit more detail is team teaching, because team teaching is the fundamental component that helps us achieve all the other sort of our unique selling points that are on the screen at the minute. The whole purpose of the model is that we can ensure as many children progress through the model and have as few barriers as possible to be able to achieve and progress to where they want to be. We recognise not every child is going to want to be the next Michael Phelps or next Adam Peaty, but we want to give every child that opportunity if they want to. But equally as important, we want as many children to take up swimming as lifelong participation. We have reviewed how we deliver so that we can offer lower ratios than we were delivering previously, which means more time for the teacher to spend with your child in the lesson to get as much out of it as possible. As mentioned, we've put in place lead teachers as well as our Q supervisors to improve the communication so that hopefully we can answer any questions a lot more quickly, and so that you get more response in terms of how your child is progressing in the lesson. This next one is regarding active learning time. This is where we look at how active your child is in every lesson. And we found through the pilots that we've been doing over the last few years of our model and developing it, we've been able to increase by 25% on average how active your child is being in lessons. Now, COVID restrictions have meant that it's not been possible to always get to where we were in our pilots, but we're hopeful as restrictions start to ease, we can get back to lessons being really sort of fast-paced and your child able to progress quicker because of that. We're also going to share with you in a minute how we put together a standardised plan. What we've tried to do is look at what other sports do from a competitive sense in terms of having an annual plan in place, as well as specific schemes of work and more detailed plans that the teachers can adapt to the needs of your pupils, needs of your children, sorry. What we've also tried to do is simplify it for those of you who've got siblings. If you've got one child in at 4 o'clock, what we don't want is a model, which means then you've got another child in at 6 o'clock potentially. What we've tried to do is make it as easy as possible because of our simplified classes, that you could have a child in foundation at 3:45 and you could have their brother or sister in at 4 o'clock. We want to be able to offer something that is as customer friendly as possible. And if you are looking at it and you're thinking, actually, my child is at 3:45 and my other child's at 6 o'clock, please get in touch with us and we can support to see if there's lessons that we can offer in terms of alternatives. As I've already mentioned, we've really tried to hone in on having specific water safety awards so that you as a parent know exactly what they've learned and hopefully reassures you around what they're capable of doing in regards to being in the water and being safe and confident. And finally, as I've already mentioned, we've put in all these different awards so that we can celebrate when your child is progressing. And we really want to celebrate when they do achieve the little milestones, even the first time that potentially they do 3 meters on their own or 5 meters. Every time a child achieves something, we really want to celebrate it and create an environment where everybody in the class is celebrating what's been achieved. So what we're going to talk you through now is this idea of team teaching and how we've come to this process. And I have to talk about, actually, it's our head of department, a gentleman called Andrew Clark, and he came up with this idea of a judo mat. And any of you that have got children who take part in judo or any sort of martial art will know this sort of idea that when children go to judo, they all turn up and they're on one big mat or various different mats. But everybody's a different ability, and that's based upon the belt colour they had. And this was how we came to sort of this idea of why is it in swimming you've got different classes that are very set in stone around, right, you're stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. And not every pool can offer all of them at the same time. But why in judo and other sports can they offer a time where everybody turns up, everybody can still progress, and it doesn't mean that every time they change belt in judo that all of a sudden you're told, great, little Johnny's got the red belt, now they've got to go to 4:30 instead of 4 o'clock. And it kind of was an epiphany to us as an organisation to go, why we're making it difficult for you as our customers to stay on lessons and for your child to progress. So how does this sort of judo mat principle work in a swimming pool setting? Because yes, judo and swimming are very, very different. But this is sort of the analogy that we're using. Previously, in March last year, we could have had a teaching pool with a stage 1, a stage 2 and a stage 3 in it. In this scenario, you'd have one teacher who's looking after each individual class. In an ideal world, if little Johnny's in stage 1, he would then be able to progress to stage 2, then stage 3 at the same time. But it didn't always work like that. And if classes were full, it was a barrier sometimes for little Johnny to be able to progress. What we looked at and said, what if we didn't look at it as 3 separate lessons? What about if we looked at it as one area with 3 different ability groups? So what we said is, well, even if a child's a non-swimmer or an improver, it's one class, they're working on the same set of skills, they're working on their essential swimming skills. We can still ability group them based on the needs of the pupils. Just because a child's a stage 1, sometimes they might just be able to do a skill that actually even the kids in stage 3 previously were working on or struggling to achieve. The idea of our sort of Judomat principle is that the mat in this scenario is how big our pools are. Some of our pools, we've got big teaching pools, we've got small teaching pools, some pools we've only got a single main pool. But the idea is that we need to have somebody that manages, well, what's going on in this class, and that's our lead teacher. So every class, whether it's a foundation, a development or academy, will have a lead teacher, and we're hoping that you'll get to know them a lot better and be acquainted with them as we restart, because they'll be there to be able to answer any questions if you've got them. We then have our teams of teachers. Now the idea is that this team of teachers will be your children potentially through their progression from red to amber to green in foundation, from bronze to silver to gold in development. They might not always have the same teacher, but they're always going to be working with the same teaching team, who are all there, and their number one objective is to get everybody in the class to be progressive. It allows for the flexibility that when a child might potentially go backwards slightly, because that's just the nature of learning anything in sport, if a child progresses and excels more than we predicted, it doesn't restrict them learning those skills within that class. It allows us to be a lot more free flow and adapt the needs of your children in the lesson a lot more easily than we could do previously in our quite restrictive model. So hopefully that's making sense in terms of how it looks. Our teaching teams get bigger depending on the size of the class, but we've set average ratios that our pools have got to adhere to. So for foundation, the average is 1 to 8, for development it's 1 to 11, and for academy it's 1 to 20. So our lead teachers are there, and they are sort of our key component to ensuring our model achieves everything that we've set out for it to do. They're there to make sure that they're planning and preparing to meet the needs of your children, but they're also there to answer any questions you've got. So they'll be on hand to be able to answer any emails, any phone calls, anything like that that may come in if you've got any questions. On pool side, they're there to manage what our teams are doing, support our teams, and ensure that everyone in the team knows what they're doing and that we can get the most out of every single lesson. Whilst COVID measures are in place, they're also our key person to ensure that we are delivering a COVID secure delivery and watching over what's going on in our pools. So this is where we want to just share with you all the work we've done behind the scenes in terms of our planning. Now, must be out there, our teachers have always planned. The issue was, though, that teachers from Newcastle to Cumbria to London to wherever could plan slightly differently, and that's great. But what we wanted to do is say to you as the customers, well, what is the plan? From a coaching background myself, any other sport, you have like a master plan, and that's a very competitive sense. What we looked at with myself and other tutors, as well as our internal team, was how can we have something that's a little bit more standardized that we can share with you as customers? So that's what I'm going to do now. So if I stop sharing this for a second. And Nick and Emma, just nod your heads if you can see the lovely Excel spreadsheet. So if you're sat there thinking, well, Andrew, why on earth are you showing me this wonderful spreadsheet? I really like this spreadsheet.
You might just need to make it a bit bigger, Andrew, because I've got my glasses on and I still want you to zoom in a bit. Just doesn't.
All we want to really show all of you is, it's just an example. For example, from the 12th of April, we do have a plan, and it is kind of a standardized plan that everybody is following. What we've done is said, okay, what do we want the teachers to focus on for that week? They can adapt it based upon the certain needs of the particular classes, but there's a clear plan and sort of link to child development, as well as the most progressive steps in terms of their swimming journey. So just to show you really that this is the sort of things that we're going to be covering with your children in foundation. We've got the same plan for development and also for academy. This runs, we do our sort of schemes of work for sort of 14, 15 weeks. You can see in there that we've got certain themes. So for example, on the 21st of June, we've got the drowning prevention week. So all of our lessons will be linked around that. A lot of the themes are also linked to what your children might be learning at school. And this is all based around primary school, looking at things that we can link to as sort of kind of easy games and activities that can relate to from what they're doing at school. Each time we produce this, we review it and we try and ensure what we want to do, and eventually our ultimate aim is to start sharing with you. We've asked our lead teachers to ensure that as part of the comms in centres, you know what the week's focus is. So if it is dolphin leg kick for foundation, or it's butterfly for development, you know, and you know for each week actually what's my child going to be working on, what are the things that they're working towards. Our teachers will be updating as much as possible on the tablets so that you can see on Home Portal how they're progressing. But our primary focus as teachers is to ensure that they're learning as much in the lesson as possible, and we're trying to discourage them from sort of doing tick box teaching on the tablets, as that's sort of done when it's needed to, rather than being the main focus of the lesson. So hopefully that helps and reassures you that we have spent a lot of time and effort ensuring that we've got really robust plans in place to support your children coming back, whether they were in lessons between September and December, or if they've had 12 months off. So our lead teachers will use our schemes of work, and they'll be sharing with you details about what they're working in each week, and they then develop lesson plans based on that. And as I said, it might change slightly if there's a need to work on particular areas, because that's what your children need to develop further. In terms of the progression and the awards, our lead teachers are responsible for ensuring that the assessments are updated, but the whole teaching team are involved in that. So again, the idea is that everybody in that team knows where that whole class is up to, so that if one of our teachers is not in for whatever reason, then it doesn't matter that that one person's missing. The team knows what they're doing, and that cover teacher, if they're in for that lesson, knows what point those children are at. It's worth saying and noting that we know from a child development point of view that unless you've been lucky enough to have a pool in your garden or an indoor pool, if they've not been in the water for even 3 months, 12 months, 9 months, however long, they will have regressed from the point they were in the lessons last. That's just to do because of the nature of learning to swim. It's not like learning to ride a bike. You do forget that muscle memory, and it does take some time to build that back up. And our teachers have been reiterated to as part of the training that we need to ensure that we go over the basics, ensure that every child is safe in the water first before we start sort of trying to push the boat and try more complex things. The first 2 weeks of delivery from the 12th of April, it really focused around the COVID secure delivery, ensuring everybody, including yourselves, knows what's going on and that the children are happy and safe in the water. Our assessments are linked in that sort of every 4 weeks we're getting our teams to ensure that updates are produced. Those updates may be done each week, but we have set points when those assessments need to be updated based on the scheme of work and the plan. The whole idea is that by doing it this way, we can increase the active learning time, which leads to better progression in the long run. And as I've already mentioned, our whole model is about celebrating when your child achieves their little milestones. I'm going to hand back over to Emma now.
Okay, just at this point to say, Nicola and I have been busy squirreling away answering questions on the Q&A and on the chat, and trying to get back to as many as possible. So if you have asked a question, just check back in there to see if there is an answer yet, and we'll come on to some more of those at the end. Okay, in terms of the payment information and your direct debit restarts, we have communicated with all customers that we have got valid email addresses for. Unfortunately, if you have unsubscribed from our marketing emails, then we do have challenges in getting through to you, and you may find that it arrives through the post rather than on email. But we have been doing our best to contact everybody. So we have now shared with you about your restart date for lessons and your restart payment, and it will have come across in several emails. What I just want to be clear about, because obviously it's quite complex, is that you will have had an email detailing your first direct debit payment, and what that payment takes into account is the date of your last payment before Christmas or in December, potentially some of you even in November. It takes into account the date of your last lesson, and it also takes into account the date of your next lesson. So for some cases we might owe you a couple of weeks, and in some cases you might owe us a couple of weeks. So you can imagine across our whole business that's quite complex, but what we've worked out is the logic behind what is owed for that first payment. So you may see a different payment than you're used to, but it has all been explained on email and calculated to as far as possible. What you will then see is that beyond your April and May payments, that subsequent monthly payments will go back to your normal standard direct debit amount. It's probably also worth me pointing out a couple of other things here that have been shared on email, but again, I've already noticed in the chat there's a few people saying that they haven't received anything yet, is that normally we would have an annual price increase in April. There is no price increase to our foundation development and academy lessons in April 2021. The other thing for me to point out is that we are aware that obviously lots of people did come back to lessons at some point between September and December, but there were also an awful lot of people that chose to keep their membership on freeze and their lessons on freeze and haven't come back yet. If that's the case, we will have emailed you or written to you in the last few days explaining that we will be restarting all lessons and payments, and your first direct debit will be due from the 1st of May. And the email does give you information to say that if you're not ready to come back and you don't want to take up your place in the lesson at this stage, that you can contact our customer experience team to cancel the lesson. I'm going to come on in a minute into how to get in touch with us, because I seem to have typed that lots of times in the Q&A, so it's probably easier that I explain it to everybody. But you can just see on the bottom of that slide there is a website to visit for you to contact us if you need to make a change. Thanks, Andrew. Next one. Okay, so what I want to take you through now is hopefully a whole load of useful information and links. Now, the start point is that lots of people have been asking if we're going to share these slides. Absolutely, we will share the slides with everybody who is registered to attend. We will also share the link to the recording of the webinar so that you can flick it back and listen to it if there's any bits that you want to go over again, because I know there's been an awful lot of information. So if I can just talk you through what's on this slide now, and hopefully you will find the information that you need. The top link there that's titled Swim School is the landing page that gives you all the information about our new delivery model and all of the information that Andrew's just talked through. The next link, which is titled Home Portal Login, is where, as an existing customer, you would go to log in to Home Portal to check your pupil, lesson information, progress, and so on. The next one, Lessons and Courses Join Site, if you are wanting to join up as new, or you want to add an additional pupil, or you want to have a look at what other lessons are available, maybe you do swimming, but you want to have a look at gymnastics or tennis or something, then that is the Join Site for you. The next one is all about our COVID secure frequently asked questions for leisure centres. Some of them are relevant to swimming lessons, and some of them are just general frequently asked questions around the COVID secure measures in our leisure centres. So again, worth you having a look. Now then, in terms of how you can get in touch with us, we have had a change to the way we manage all of our customer communications. Obviously, with the leisure centres closed for large parts of last year, all of our phone systems and email inboxes were turned off, and everything was redirected into our central customer experience team. So if you would like to make an email inquiry in regarding your lesson, whether you want to change the day or the time, maybe you want to change to a different centre, or maybe you want to cancel with us, then I would advise you to visit the email inquiry title, which is www.better.org.uk/contact us. And on the contact us page, there's various drop down boxes for you to select whether it is an inquiry, a change, a membership inquiry, and so on, so that you can input an inquiry into the system and that you'll get a response. The next one is online chat, and this is a new function. It allows you to talk directly to one of our customer experience team using like real-time chat function. So you can see the little icon there on the right-hand side. If you visit the Better website, which is www.better.org.uk, you will see that chat with us logo pop up in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can select lessons and courses, and you can have a chat with one of our customer experience team. And they'll be able to assist you. And then finally, the third method that you can contact us is through our phone line, and you can see the phone number there, 0203 457 8700. That takes you through to a number of different options and does allow you to select to go through to speak to somebody about swimming lessons. Just to make you aware, both the chat and the phone lines are open Monday to Thursday from 8 AM to 8 PM and Friday to Sunday from 8 AM to 4 PM. So the phone and the online chat are obviously going to get you a more immediate answer, or you can drop an email in through the email inquiry contact us forms. And then the last little link that we've dropped on there is the animated video that Andrew showed you partway through the presentation, just if you want to watch that back and have a look at those COVID secure measures. Thanks, Andrew. Okay, so in terms of some questions and answers, and I think we're just going to pick out some of the big ones that probably apply to more people. First of all, I think we're really excited that this time next week, we will actually have our leisure centres open. We will be delivering swimming lessons, and some of your children will be in attending swimming lessons with our teachers. And no one is more excited to get back on the pool side than the teachers. Andrew has been delivering training for our teaching workforce, and there's been quite a few questions that have come up in the group around how we're making sure that the children who've not been in the water for a while, that are really nervous, how they're, you know, how we're going to cope with them. So Andrew, can I ask, do you want to reply to that one, just in terms of what direction you've given the teachers and the training that they've had?
Yeah, it's very much around going back to sort of that gentle and sort of appropriate approach to the children's needs. We know for some children they're 4 and 5 or 6 and 7 and they're coming back for that first time, they're going to be quite nervous, and we need to ensure that we can be supportive and sort of gradually reintroduce them back in the lesson. So if that's sort of spending a little bit more time maybe on the side, kicking the legs, then sort of into the water, spending more time around the wall and in the shallow end of the sort of area, whether it's in the teaching pool or main pool. Our lead teachers in particular, we went through sort of what can we do to support those children as best as possible, and they're looking at their plans to ensure, okay, looking at the ages of the pupils that may be new coming in, to ensure that they adapt based on the specifics of each pool. But please be assured that our teachers have always got that in mind, and they will support as much as they possibly can, whilst also trying to maintain that social distancing. It's just challenging for us to always do both because of the COVID secure measures, but our teachers know sort of the strategies to help with that.
Okay, thank you. Another one is around lesson capacities. I know you talked about like maximum capacities for foundation development and academy. I think it's also worth pointing out that a lot of our lesson capacities at the moment are based on several different factors. Prior to COVID, we would have only had to take into account the pupil and teacher ratio, but now because of social distancing, we're obviously having to take into account the space available within the changing rooms, the space available on the pool side, as well as the space available within the pool itself. So although we can tell you that there is a maximum capacity for particular groups, it may be that based on particular facilities that is smaller because of the space that is available to us. And at the moment, we're obviously going to continue to use our COVID secure measures for the foreseeable future and keep those in. Just to cover off a few questions about parent and child lessons and preschool. I know Andrew mentioned this right at the beginning, but just in case you missed it, we are looking to bring back our Swimbies lessons, which are the parent and child lessons, and also our preschool lessons, which will be for 3 to 4 year olds. There will be a change to preschool. Previously, our teachers would be in the water, and for preschool 3 to 4 year olds, the parents wouldn't have to get in. However, under COVID secure measures, we have had to change that, and it means that when we restart our preschool lessons, the parent or adult will be expected to get in the water with them, because our teacher will be on the side. So we are looking to bring those back in a minimum of 1 centre per partnership or borough from sort of 19th of April onwards. There's also been a couple of queries around adult lessons, which I'm only going to touch on really quickly. We're not able to restart any indoor group adult activities before the 17th of May, in line with government guidance. So that one is on the back burner for now, but we will be looking to bring those back in May as soon as we are able to. Andrew, there's some queries around lessons for older children. Can you, I know you mentioned it, but can you just pick up around foundation lessons for perhaps the sort of 10 years plus, and then maybe options on competitive swimming for those that don't want to do the life-saving elements?
Yeah, so on the older foundation class, for those that are sort of key stage 2 or teenage, are going into sort of secondary school, centres are offering those lessons where we feel that there's a real demand for that. And if you feel that you can't find those appropriate lessons, please get in touch, and our area swim school leads can review. But we have asked our teams to ensure that there is provision within our partnerships to ensure that every child that hasn't had the opportunity yet has the opportunity moving forward. On the competitive bit, well, second half of the question, yeah, in the academy, that is entirely down. If we've got pupils that really want to focus on the sort of competitive swimming route or any competitive route, then we can sort of adapt that, and there are specific awards that are still appropriate. What we're trying to do is really make good links, even better links with our swim clubs that are using our centres as well. So where they've got potentially an entry route from swimming lessons into the club, we're going to try and direct more pupils that want to go in that competitive route through to those swimming clubs and their available times, because that's the best place for them to do that competitive route if that's what they wish to do.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. We're going to have to finish up in a second. What I would just ask is, if you found this session useful, or if you've got any feedback on the new model, if you could just drop us a few comments in the chat. What we'd really like to be able to do is feedback to our colleagues in the leisure centres and let our teachers know. We will be taking all of the all the frequently asked questions and feeding those back. And hopefully we're going to do some more of these sessions. So if you found it useful, it'd be really good to know, because that will spur us on to do the next ones. I would like to tell you that we were quite surprised, but we actually had probably just short of 1,800 people sign up for the webinar this afternoon, which does show that there is a real interest in it, and we will be doing some more of them. So keep an eye on your emails for those coming through. And if you've got friends or other parents of the swimming lessons that missed out on this, then by all means, when we send it through to you, then do share the links with them. For those of you that are asking about other sports outside of swim school, I saw there's a couple of queries about gymnastics and tennis and so on. All of the information that we've shared with you about the live chat and the contact us forms and the phone number can be used for any of our products and any of our leisure centres. So please do use those to get in touch if you've got queries that you need responding to. I appreciate that we haven't managed to get through all of the questions. We do have the facility to download the question and answers, and we can respond to them, and we can share those back with you. And we will also use this to update the frequently asked questions in our help centre on the website. There's no such thing as a silly question. If you're asking it, someone else is probably thinking it as well. So we are really, really grateful to you for joining us this afternoon. Thanks to Nicola for helping me manage the chat function, and thanks to Andrew for the presentation as well. So we look forward to seeing you all in the pools from next week onwards. Just check and make sure that you've got a 12th restart and not the following week. Thanks everybody, and goodbye from us.